So, how I became a New England Patriots fan. um, Not really. I still don't really have a team, but I was a big fan of the first pick, the very last pick in the first round. They took N'Keal Harry, obviously, just in case no one had heard. And I felt a need to do a video. Why not? I thought maybe we could take a look at rankings, right? It's only been the first round. We only have like 4 or 5 skill position players drafted, but DLF is trying to add them to their database as quick as possible, so they're actually available to rank. So I thought maybe we'll take a look at what my initial rankings were, because I put them in last night, just before I stepped on the Fantasy Joe's podcast. Check that out if you want to see me victory lapping about N'Keal Harry. Jake stopped him for a while as well, so that was fun. And welcome. I have a few new Patreons. I really appreciate it, and a few people increased their donations. I don't have enough gratitude in me to express how I feel about that, but I'm glad you're all here, and I really appreciate that. But let's get on to the hopefully interesting stuff. In case you didn't notice, I posted the link on Patreon, but it's also always my pinned tweet. I updated the database. We now have over 1,770 players in there. 131 of them are prospects for this year's class. We actually have over 200 prospects, and some from the 2020 and 21 class that I found birth dates for. I added Miles Boykin and a few other people that I've been asked about. I haven't really dug into them, but the stats are on the in the database if you're interested, including Keenan Brown at tight end. He played fullback and wide receiver as well in his first few years, so he's an interesting, versatile player. But yeah, just a look behind the scenes. This is DLF's ranking engine. This is the way it comes up. Am I on the right screen? Yeah, I am. I don't know how well it's going to come up in the view there, because it's fairly bare, but I'll try and increase it as much as I can. And you can see I do 2 QB or Superflex rankings for DLF. I don't do the just straight 200. And that's kind of helps because it provides extra value to the QB. And so I think a lot more people are playing Superflex. So it's just an interesting way to do rankings. The first rookie I have on the board, I'm going to guess, and like I say, I put him in last night, but I don't really remember where I put them. But it's going to be Josh Jacobs. He's going to be the highest ranked rookie I have, just generally because of my philosophy about rookies. As a first-round running back, he's going to have the best opportunity to produce for fantasy early. Now, I think you guys know what I think about Josh Jacobs. His talent is a rumor because he just didn't play enough in college for me really to get a sense statistically about how good he is. He ranks out well in PFF numbers, though, in terms of elusiveness and everything else. So things look good. And Jake Anderson, my fellow podcast host, obviously, says he looks good on tape. Now, his athleticism didn't match up to that, but we can fade athleticism if we really like everything else. Going in the first round to the Raiders is not a bad landing spot for opportunity, as long as Marshawn Lynch continues to just not be around, at least. And the first round draft capital is the most important thing for running back, so he's going to be our highest ranked running back probably at this point, depending on landing spot for maybe Miles Sanders and David Montgomery. But right now, obviously, he's running back 1. He's the only one drafted. I've put him in as running back 19, which is fairly low for like a first-round running back, but that's because of the questions I have about him. And also, he wasn't the top-ranked running back according to consensus data, so there isn't going to be the rush to get him that there was Elliott or Barkley. He's not that level of prospect. Again, just based on how much he didn't play in college, or how much he did play in college. But still, he should be in the starter category. I've got him above Tyler Boyd, because I think Tyler Boyd could regress. I think he's a top 24 running back. He's valued there right now, so I keep him in the top 24. I really like the player, but staying in the top 24 is going to be difficult, and so Jacobs has to be higher than that for me. He's got, I believe, he's right next to Sony Michel. Anyway, that's where I have him right now. And looking at it again with fresh eyes, I'm fairly comfortable with this. I do notice the actual highest ranked rookie I've got is Kyler Murray. He's also going to have to be in semi-starter category. Rookie years are rough for quarterbacks, as we know, but there's going to be so much hope and hype for him in the Cardinals. We don't really know he's going to be the starter yet. Probably is my best guess right now. I've put him in at QB 15. I'm typically lower, even in Superflex, on the highest valued quarterbacks. Now, I've started to separate out the difference between value and worth for myself and also for my rankings. Worth is what it's going to do for the team. Value is what you can get in trade, right? So ADP and stuff like that. Just to clarify what I meant by where his value is going to be. Next up is going to be N'Keal Harry, let's face it. I suspect I put him in and around Christian Kirk, because that's kind of how I like him. But he looks lower than that. That seems low. Where is he? Okay, I've gone slightly above Christian Kirk, and I think that's fair because Kirk had lower draft capital. He's on the Cardinals, but Larry Fitzgerald is still there. And there's going to be more value placed on Harry because he went to the Patriots. There's a lot of hype. It's very recent in our rookie drafts, and we're going to like him. He's going to be a top 3 pick. He's a 101 for me right now, even though I've got him right now ranked below Josh Jacobs in terms of my rankings because I think Jacobs has more chance of producing early. N'Keal Harry has a longer window just because of the nature of the position. But right now I have him as wide receiver 27, so outside the top 24. But value plays such tricks with us that even Julian Edelman is outside the top 24, and he's very likely to be a top 24 wide receiver in 2019. It's just that his value is lower, and so he drops in my rankings a little bit because you can get less for him in trade. But his worth is definitely a top 24 wide receiver. He should be above Boyd, he should be above Ridley in terms of finish. But value is important in Dynasty, and Edelman directly connects to Harry, obviously, since they're both on the same team now. Edelman's much more likely to be in the top 24 in 2019, but Harry clearly has more long-term value that's going to be hyped up in Dynasty. Like, I want him more than I want Edelman, but just based on the value difference, I think you're going to have to draft Harry earlier, and you'll get less out of him sooner. And no one so my patron thinks I'm low on Harry. Like, I'm going to make sure I get Harry in my rookie drafts. I'm going to really trade for him and try and get him in startups. I mean, a move I just made in the Trade Addicts League was to trade I drafted the 1.4 pick, and Jake drafted the 1.2, and I traded Adam Thielen, who I'm really high on, for Christian Kirk and the 1.02, so I could lock in getting Harry. So that's essentially Adam Thielen for Christian Kirk and N'Keal Harry. That's a large bet on upside, especially giving up someone like Thielen, who is a locked-in top 12 receiver for me. I have him higher than consensus by a lot. I think his age devalues him, and it really shouldn't. So that's not a comment on what I think of Thielen. That's just, I really want to lock in Harry. And I'm a big fan of Kirk as well, so I didn't mind getting him in the deal. That was an extreme overpay. I wouldn't recommend going out and doing that trade. I have a specific mindset with that league right now. In fact, we just podcasted about it. Our last Dynasty Crossroad episode was all about talking about that league. And because of the way the draft's going, I'm really trying to take some upside bets, like trying to find things that we don't expect to happen, that could happen. And so that's why I'm taking the very large and almost too expensive bet on N'Keal Harry and Christian Kirk. But both of them are going to have locked-in value as well. There's kind of a lot more that goes into that. But anyway, that's where I've got Harry. He's my second-ranked rookie in terms of overall rankings, but he's my target in the first round of rookie drafts this year. Who else do we have locked in here? I guess the other one you might be interested in, I'm really low on Marcus Brown, just as a rookie prospect. I think he's underproductive. He was like right on the average line at age 22 or 21, I forget which. And the year before that, he was below average. And those are the 2 years we've got. So this is an underproductive, smaller, injured wide receiver drafted by the Ravens in the first round. I'm just not very hopeful about that. The Ravens are a team that struggled to get that position right and have done for a while. It's not a surprise to me that they overreached for the small, fast guy in the first round. Brown could put up great numbers. He is fast. And if they're taking him in the first round, I think that means the NFL's fine with his foot. The Ravens, as much shade as we want to throw at a team, they have pretty good doctors, and they're not going to make that bet unless they feel pretty confident that he's going to be healthy. He's very fast, and he is a decent player. And I think having traded away John Brown, and some other things the Ravens have done, if Lamar Jackson takes a step forward in throwing the ball, as opposed to being a really great runner of the ball, obviously, and with that threat, that kind of helps out wide receiver. So he definitely could put up numbers in his rookie year, probably more likely than N'Keal Harry. But long term, I more expect his value to drop as his career goes on. Harry's, I think, could get greater. And so I'm just not very hopeful. I think everyone's going to be willing to take Marcus Brown ahead of me. But due diligence, I have dug into the player. I've got him as a wide receiver 39 right now, behind James Washington, who I have a more long-term hope for, under Sterling Shepard, who I have more immediate hope for, with a lack of receiving options on the New York Giants. Him and Ingram really could walk into some heavy targets, and Sterling's had a high touchdown percentage before. He's got a knack for it. Brown does have to be above Gallup, who I'm a big fan of from last year, Michael Gallup's second-round pick. But Gallup's always locked into being the 2, and he is more of a deep ball receiver from college as well. And so it's a similar vein, but I think Gallup had better production in college, but he has less draft capital. He also has 1 extra year in the NFL, and so it's weighing that calculation in my head. I've got to make an actual calculation for this, but the way it comes out in my head is that Gallup's worth about the same, but Brown's going to have more value because he was just drafted. Probably get some excitement from that. And so he ranks 1 spot above, but really they're about equal. And that's just how I feel about it right now, at least. Let me see who else we've got in here. It's going to be tight ends. Noah Fant, I've put in as a tight end 13. Again, people are going to draft him ahead of me. They just are. Really like the player. Same as TJ Hawkinson. I've got him back-to-back in my rookie rankings as a tight end 1. Like they're both tight end 1. And I've got them back-to-back in my overall rankings. Now they have teams as tight end 13. Joint tight end 13. Like, I don't think they're going to be starters this year. If they are, like, if you think they can make an impact on the Broncos and the Lions this year, then you really want them. That's a really small category. It's like Evan Ingram, Rob Gronkowski, Jimmy Graham, Tony Gonzalez. The players that hit early at tight end are really good, just in case you've never heard my tight end take. But most break out later. Most good players break out in year 3 or 4 or age 26 or over. And based on the ADP I have, that's about when their value starts to drop. That's what happened to Eric Ebron, essentially. So I like to try and play a longer game with tight end. I'm not going to get the Rob Gronkowskis of the world, but Travis Kelce is someone that took a little while to break out. His value dropped a little bit. Not much, but a little bit before it actually happened. OJ Howard's values remain pretty stable as well. Like, I'm not going to get those top tier prospects, but I'm fine with getting good prospects that have a chance to be Zach Ertz, right? So I like him a lot, but I can't put him in that starter category just because it's a lot less likely to produce year 1, and I think their value will drop if they're ever going to produce if they don't do it early. So I have him down a bit. I did put him ahead of Njoku, who's still waiting for his breakout window, and similar things going to happen to him, I think. I really like Njoku as a prospect, but he struggled the first few years. I'm waiting for his value to drop before I really look into investing in him in Dynasty, because I think we're going to get tired of waiting for him before it can actually become likely to happen. But right now his value is still the same. Njoku's value stayed pretty stable, which again, if you want to invest in value in your rookie drafts, tight ends and quarterbacks are a really good place to do it. Based on what I've looked at an ADP since 2014, quarterback and tight end value remains pretty stable for the first 3 years. Now some drop, like you can't pull a Ronald Jones, for example, those values tank. Same with Rashad Penny. But quarterback and tight end are much more likely to hold their value through the first 3 years. So if you're looking to make a value bet like you're building, I kind of don't mind leaning towards these higher priced tight ends in the middle rounds or the end of the first round, because their value is probably going to hold. So it means your trading window is longer, even if they don't hit. I think that's a fairly good strategy if you think you need more value than you need more worth on your Dynasty team. But when I'm making overall rankings, I'm more thinking about worth. I'm thinking about winning that first year if I'm drafting in a startup. And that just puts rookie tight ends down for me. Who else won? I think that's all. Oh no, quarterbacks. I did Kyler Murray, obviously. Quarterback 15. Similar process that I just talked about with tight ends. Again, the value holds, but they're less likely to produce year one. The other guy that went is Daniel Jones. I actually do really like the prospect. I got made fun of on the Fantasy Joes because I said I wish him well. But what I mean by that is he's got some interesting parts to his profile. But his overall profile makes him look more like a backup in the NFL. It just does. The Giants see more than that, great. But I don't. I don't think the Giants is the right landing spot to nurture him either. At least not this coaching staff. At least I don't think they're going to do well for him. So I've got him at quarterback 28, which is over some starters in the NFL, obviously. I might even go lower than him. I might drop him outside of that starter category. I think it looks grim for Daniel Jones, despite having some promise on his resume. This isn't some promise like Dak Prescott had some promise but was drafted late. Dak Prescott did better in college than Daniel Jones did. But that's going to be tricky. I'm going to have to watch ADP and figure that out. But I'm probably not going to have him even in Superflex in Dynasty. Haskins is the other guy, right? Dwayne Haskins. Redskins, I actually kind of like that landing spot. Washington was looking like the worst place for a wide receiver to go. Like, I liked it less than Baltimore. And Haskins doesn't rank as highly as Kyler Murray. But the one statistically significant year he had, the starter year that he had. So he's got a lack of experience, but he was actually pretty efficient. And he was a good player in that 1 year. Pulling on Jake's research on the tape, he struggles in the pocket, struggles to move out of it. He's going to need good blocking, is basically Jake's overall synopsis. I can see that based on what he did in his numbers. I do kind of like the landing spot. I was thinking of Haskins as more like a Trubisky or even a Sam Darnold. That prospect with good things on his profile, rated highly by the NFL, but we're going to be down on him because he doesn't rank as highly as the number one in the class. And I often find there's value in that player. He was drafted outside of the top 15 picks, though. The Giants could have taken him inside the top 15. So maybe he's that player, but the Giants' messery. I'm trying to keep it clean on Patreon videos, right? But there's a lot of bad words I could say about what they did. It's the best way to thinking about what they did. But so maybe there's some kind of internal bump in my process about that. But he did fall below those top 15. So I like him less than Trubisky, less than Darnold. But I think it's a great landing spot for him. A place he could actually grow. And they have some interesting system there. The weapons aren't great. They traded Ray Crowder. But they do have Jordan Reed. He could be a rookie quarterback's best friend. Haskins isn't going to be like I said about Kyler Murray. Early rookie QBs struggle. They just do. It takes a while. It's a really tough position to learn, like tight end, right? But I kind of like him as a sneaky value from this class, just because that good but not great prospect in every class tends to get undervalued because everyone's got, the big goo eyes for the QB1, and they should. Kyler Murray looks great. But Haskins wasn't any slouch in terms of his efficiency in that 1 year, and Kyler Murray only has 1 year as well, remember? So they both have an experience problem. I've got him below Lamar Jackson right now, because Lamar Jackson is the starter going into his second year, and he's going to rush a lot. And that's going to be valuable for fantasy. But I'm going to be watching Haskins' Dynasty value. If I can pick him up in a few places, like I tried to do with Darnold, but people got wise to that pretty quick. But I didn't with Trubisky. People really dropped on him after that trade, and that wasn't his fault. It just improved his rookie profile, actually. And I actually managed to pick him up a few places. He's QB 24 right now, so right inside that starter range. In Superflex, that's significant. That's not saying he's worthless. I think he's a Dynasty target for me right now, but we'll have to see how ADP shakes out, right? Alright, I think that's all the rookies I've managed to put in my rookie rankings so far. I can't think of any others. Let me look at the NFL draft tracker, just checking I didn't miss anyone. Hawkinson, talked about him. I think that was all the offensive rookies. But it was a late night. Maybe I forgot someone here. No, that's all of them. All right, so yeah, again, the Patriots found a way to make me a fan. That's my day one draft story. For day two, I'm going on the Dynasty Dummies open bar, and everyone else is going on that show tonight, hopefully. It's a busy weekend. My wife's got a book fair and a book sale, and I'm trying to help out with all of that while the draft's going on. I haven't even watched Endgame yet, so please don't spoil it for me. You can spoil it for me, I don't care. I still enjoy the movie. I've got a lot going on, but I am going on that Dynasty Dummies podcast tonight. I think it's going to be live, so watch my Twitter feed or their Twitter feed if you want to watch it. Or you might be going on yourself, since a lot of you guys actually are more important than me. So I'll see you there. If anyone has any questions about rookies or the way I rank them, or you want to see any more college stats, or you want to see me make a graph out of anything, as you guys know, you can contact me and ask me anytime. Again, I just really appreciate you guys being here. For those watching who aren't Patreons, check it out, man. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks for watching the video. If nothing else, remember that my database is pinned to my Twitter profile as well as being posted in Patreon. It's free. It's got all the rookies from this class and every other class for the last 18 years. So if you're looking to compare and to past prospects, that's one way you can do it, I guess. Hopefully that's still useful to everyone. I'm using it a lot, and I find it useful, which is why I made it. Alright, I'm getting out of here. I gotta go help sell books. So take care. Thanks for checking out the video. Thanks for being a Patreon if you are. I love you all. Seriously, you guys are great. Heroes, one and all. And I will see you after day two. I can't wait for only 3 more wide receivers to get taken and everyone to tilt because it's such a deep class. It's a pretty weak class, guys. Before I go, actually, one thing that's what I'll leave on. Everyone's saying they expect 10 to 15, and I mean like guys that hit 22 out of 32 picks in the first round, like really good drafters. I'm not an NFL draft guy, so this is a hot take, right? Especially from a guy who doesn't specialize in predicting the NFL draft. 2 wide receivers went in the first round. We expect those smart guys expect like 15 to go in the second and third round. I don't expect more than 8. I think this is 2013. I think this is DeAndre Hopkins' year, and we had 2 wide receivers go in the first round that year, and we had like 10 go in the first 3 rounds. The NFL identified that it was a really weak class and underdrafted them. I think this is more like 2013. Everything's adding up, but if they go to 15, then it is significantly different than 2013. But I only expect 8. I really do. I'm hoping Keyshawn Johnson is one. That's a guy I'm looking for. Harmon as well, obviously, but those are 2 I have my eyes out for. What I really want to happen is Andy Isabella to go to the Chiefs. Like, that's a box I've got my pen paused. Harry's been ticked, right? Harry's in a good team, successful team, first round draft capital. Okay, it's pick 32, but it counts. And I've just got my pen paused over the box. I want to tick that Andy Isabella box. Like, for me, comparing it to the 2013 class, that's what this is. I think Harry's Hopkins, not that level. He'll never be as good as DeAndre Hopkins, but that level of prospect in this class that he was. And he went in the late first round, pick 27, I think. And in the third round, it was, in Hopkins' class, it was Keenan Allen, who went in the third round. And he ended up breaking out, obviously, to great effect. I don't think Isabella is Keenan Allen. I think he's most closely associated, comparable to T.Y. Hilton, actually. But I think he's that second-tier draft prospect who could be a first-tier, whose upside is a first-tier fantasy wide receiver. But he needs that landing spot, man. He needs it. But yeah, that's the box I'm waiting to see. I'm hoping for Andy Isabella to go to a good spot, if nothing else. A.J. Brown's obviously going to go, and I really like him. He's X factor in this class for me. The thing that doesn't quite fit with the 2013 direct comparison, which isn't I'm not an NFL draft analyst. It isn't a great way to look at things, but it just reminds me so much of that class. But A.J. Brown is like a third person in this class I kind of like, and that didn't exist in 2013. So I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see where he goes. Maybe the Colts. I don't know. or the Packers. Everyone wants them to go to one or the other. God, I meant to get out of here, but I keep thinking of things, like literally while I'm talking to you. I'm like, something that I don't hear a lot about is those two are great landing spots, the Colts and Green Bay Packers, but they both have dominant wide receiver ones. Like, there's a ceiling there. Not as hard as the Julio Jones to Calvin Ridley ceiling, because Julio Jones is so fantastic, but Devontae Adams and T.Y. Hilton are two really good players. So that's a pretty firm ceiling. Like, upside landing spots are few and far between for wide receivers right now. But again, that kind of fits with what we said in the class. But I can't think of anywhere else I'd rather a player that I'm high on go than the Chiefs right now. And that's not just because of the Hill take, it's because there's just a lot of opportunity there, and Hill was overly big play dependent already. Sammy Watkins, he's a 9-rank guy and great at it, but that's not overly valuable for fantasy, and I think he's proven that through the first age of his career, despite injuries. I think he's managed to prove that. So, yeah, my upside landing spot right now, outside of great quarterbacks like Colts and Packers, is someone to land on the Chiefs. And with the Hill potential news, I think he's been suspended now, and that just opens that door even further. But again, I think the number of wide receivers that actually get drafted could surprise us tonight. We could be talking more about running backs, surprisingly. But we'll see. Anyway, I'm getting out of here. Thanks again, guys and girls, and I will see you after round 2. Or next time you decide to ask me a question on Patreon, Twitter, or by email. I'm open 24 hours a day. Seriously. See you later. Bye.